Welcome to Rotary Matters on 92.7 Arrow FM and Wairarapa TV. I'm Marilyn Donna, and over the next hour I'll be talking to you and bringing up some updates on the activities of the Rotary Club of Masterton South, of which I'm a member. Now, our club is in District 9940, and as a matter of interest, worldwide there are 36,898 clubs. Now, somebody said that's as many as McDonald's outlets in the world, and there are also over 1 million Rotarians. So that's just a little bit of snippet about something to do with Rotary. Today, I'm delighted to have two members of our club to speak to us. Ben Moorcock will be talking to us very soon about food bank appeal, which is taking place next week. And then after that, Chris Garland will be coming along and telling us about membership of Rotary and actually what it involves. So first of all, welcome, Ben. Lovely to have you with us. Now, Ben, you're fairly new to Rotary, and you've been sort of thrown into the mix as somebody who's going to help with the food bank next week. So what do you know about it to start with? And
so food thrown into the deep end, you might say. No, we are all under control and have an awesome team for food bank, so it's very exciting to join. What I know is that the Wairarapa community keeps supporting the food bank appeal amazingly, and as members of Rotary, we're blown away by the support every year, so it just gets better and bigger, and no doubt this year will be the same.
Yes, so actually it's been going for, let me look at my notes, 21 years this year.
Correct, yeah, started in 2000. And the main men were Rotarians Paddy Greville and Russell Carthew, who are both still involved, and Henry Stetchman from the fire service was a big instigator too. So
that's been interesting, isn't it, that it's been involved particularly with the different service organisations like fire and ambulance and police.
Yeah, great support, and also the other Rotary clubs throughout Wairarapa.
Throughout the Wairarapa, they do it.
Everybody works well for the great cause.
No, it's absolutely amazing. And first of all, when is it going to be?
So this Wednesday night, Wednesday the 10th of November, and you'll expect to start hearing and seeing people out and about from 5:30 onwards through to probably about 8 o'clock at the latest, really. But there'll be lots of noisemakers, so we'll have fire, police, and then we'll have collectors following those appliance vehicles as close as possible, and slowly going up and down your streets, letting you know.
It's actually quite fun. I don't know whether you haven't been involved actually doing the collecting, have you?
Yeah, last year. And I've done it for years when I used to be with More FM as well too. So
so you know what it's all about.
I know about it all.
It's exciting to make a noise, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, I got a loud hailer last year. That was a bit scary. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have one of the service ones one of the years that I did it. I think it was the last time I did it, and I had my own noise making machine, and that was fun. Definitely. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, and everybody should hear that we're coming is the main thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can be in the street for a while, so don't fear that you've missed us. We'll always try and send a runner back if you need something.
Yeah.
So
now, tell me about the runners, because I know that I'm organising a group from Wairarapa College, who always help out, and I think Rathkiel College have helped before too, but
great.
I know there's about 30 coming from Wairarapa College.
We need the keen young runners, don't we?
Yeah.
So we do have plenty of helpers, and we have a really good registered rostered system. So we have vehicles, trailers, and designated people with each vehicle. So although we appreciate any public help, we don't need any more helpers out on the road in our patrols as such, but we would love to see you on the road waiting with whatever you may be able to offer. But yeah, we have good support from Wairarapa College Hostel, and also a lot of Rotarians and the public.
And also the registrations, they take place at about 5:30, and then each car is sent out with a noisemaker, which is either a police car or a fire engine or ambulance.
Correct.
And a couple of runners or 2 or 3 runners, and boxes to put all the goods in.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have boxes on some of the trailers as well, banana-style boxes, and, you know, can try and sort things as best we can as we go. Are we ready to share the list of what we'd love to see come back in these boxes?
Yes, do.
That's the best
and
bit?
Actually, what is quite fun is well, it's not fun, but it's so well organised, is what actually is at the depot. Now, just before we do that, there is a new depot this year, isn't there? We are now going to be in the stadium. Can you talk us through that?
Yes. Sadly, the fire service right across the country aren't allowed visitors on site anymore, part of COVID rules and other rules, but that means we can't go on there like we used to. But they'll still be there in full support, and we'll be based pretty much across the road at the Memorial Stadium. So registration for people that are helping on the night and already know they're helping, come through the front doors of the stadium and by the swimming pool. We will register you. Then you go back out the front doors across the road to the Horseshoe car park, where you've got your vehicle hopefully waiting. And from that car park, everyone will disperse, including the noisemakers. Upon the end of that and returning, we're going to use the back area of the stadium and create a bit of a roundabout in there and unload station. So it's all being handled really nicely. The stadium are helping out, and food bank helpers are there too. And we're still in that same vicinity, so it's as close as we can be.
Yeah, no, it's really, and it's so highly organised. You know, the cars come in and the boxes are taken off, and what really intrigues me is the signs all around the depot.
Yep. And
you know, you have a sign that's got baked beans and spaghetti, and then you've got a sign that's got rice and pasta, and that is amazing how they've sort of got it down to a fine art.
Yeah,
isn't it?
You know, they are very organised, aren't they? And obviously with the amount of food that comes in on that night, we need to be too. And the response has been huge every time, so it just keeps growing.
Yeah, no, that's great. So you can give us, we've just had someone come into the studio, and welcome to Chris Garland, who's going to be talking to us soon about membership. Chris, at the moment we're just going over the food bank, and in charge this year, almost in charge, or number 2 in charge, is Ben Moorcock.
Oh, Robert's definitely in charge.
So you're only 2, I see.
No, I think I'm about 4 at least. So,
so welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Marilyn. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk about what exactly we are going to be able to take from the people.
Yeah, obviously we appreciate any support, and non-perishable items are the biggest thing, which can last as long as necessary. We've got a little bit of a list here of things that we'd love to see, but of course, you know, anything you can offer is great. So tins of soup, baked beans, spaghetti, fruit, sweet corn, tomatoes, fish, rice, pasta, noodles, sugar, flour, tea bags, tomato sauce, anything that we can keep in the cupboards and share with people that need it. Breakfasts as well. We've got cereals, jam, honey, peanut butter, Vegemite, and Marmite. I like Marmite better.
No, come on. Oh, good. Yes, me too. No, okay, that's the threesome.
Toothpaste, soap, toilet paper, even treats if you want. You know, there's some kids out there that are pretty hungry too and would love the odd chocolate biscuit or some chippies if you can spare it. So,
and the best way to do to have it available is at your gate, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, if you've got a few items, if you can chuck it in a bag, is really easy. We can grab the bag and go, you know, or a small box or whatever you've got to offer.
Yes, I think that's the easiest, isn't it? Yeah, but I mean, if you're not going to be at home at between 5:30 and
8.
Yeah, about 8 is about the last time I think that people do it at 7:30, 8 o'clock. You can just leave it at the gate post. Yeah,
definitely. Yep. You know, if it's in a yellow bag or a whatever colour bag it might be, everyone will see it, and it's pretty safe that evening with the food bank appeal right across the town.
I don't think anyone's going to come running behind it and take it from us. No, I think it's lovely also to see quite often the littlies, the kids, some of them sort of in their pyjamas all ready to go to bed.
Oh, yeah, they probably
You
should
must
be in
have
bed,
had a
but they're
few-
waiting, They're waiting.
Yeah, you must have had a few experiences like that before too.
Yeah, no, my kids always want to wait out for everything exciting. So
Yeah.
see how it
It's
goes.
not just the kids that are in pyjamas at that stage of night either, I found.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh, yeah.
Mums are ready for bed, eh?
And I've listened to the 5-day weather forecast, and I believe it's going to be fine.
Very good.
I do remember one time that I had a couple of young students from Waikol in the car, 2 girls, and it started to pour.
Oh,
we
no.
were just around, we were somewhere up Lansdowne Way, but they didn't seem to mind. They just carried on, and they didn't want to stop.
Yeah, I think that's about the one thing we haven't organised yet. So if someone can bring that, we'll be all
Yeah,
sorted.
no, I'm pretty sure it's going to be good next week. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, the other towns, are they doing it? They're doing it at the same time, aren't they? The other,
Yeah. Yep. So usually always held on the second Wednesday in November is what everyone always tries to achieve. Who else have we got that's doing it?
the Carterton Rotary and South Wairarapa.
Yep. I haven't actually got what time, but I'm assuming they'll be doing it at the same time.
Same times.
Yep.
Yeah. And what about people? Is there something about it? People in the country? I know we talked about that one year. People, rural. Can they bring it into the?
Yep. Can
Have
bring
you
it
anything about
in
that?
to the fire station.
No, not well. It won't be the fire. It would have to be into food bank.
It'd have to be in food
Yes, I
bank
suppose
now,
so.
won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, always food bank. You can always make a donation at food bank,
Yes,
can't you?
yeah.
But I mean, we can certainly collect stuff outside the stadium that night too, right at the front door where we'll be
Yes,
assembling
yes, you
and
could do. Yeah.
if people want to.
Yeah. The other thing is too that I believe the rest homes and the like the villages like Wairarapa Village and Masonic and that, I think they have their own collection within the village, and then someone goes in and picks it up from there.
Yeah,
From what
brilliant.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can call if they do need us to make a collection too. We'll always sort someone to get it there the next day or whatever it needs to be.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, Chris, have you been involved at all in what have you done with it? Have you been around for
With
it?
the food bank?
Yeah.
Oh, I've... most years I
You haven't
just
been
help
here.
out as a runner.
Oh, you've been a runner.
Yeah, it's great. It's great fun. You sort of get poking around some streets you don't normally get in, and you get to have some quite fun chats with the people that are come out to greet you with a bag full of food,
Yeah.
and you get a bit of exercise. It's good, and it's very well organised. So it's
Yes, I
over
think that's
pretty quickly, and
yeah.
and there's a lot of goodwill involved. So that's why I say it's good fun to be part of. Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to realise too, because I know that I was doing one up near Namatara Road, I think, one year, and we actually went back because when we were there quite early, but about 6 o'clock, and I would imagine some people were coming home on the train or commuting and that, and when we went back about 6:45, you know, they were ready to come out. So
Okay.
yeah.
Try not to miss anybody, eh?
No, that's the most important thing. And why do you think this year is really important? I mean, why do you think we should be making such a...
Yeah, obviously we've had huge dramas and interruptions with COVID-19, and the food bank is doing an amazing job, and they do keep getting more stuff, but the demand that they're put under seems to be ever growing too. So, you know, there's a lot of people struggling, and food bank is helping a huge amount of those people. So anything that the town can do to support it is going to help. Everybody else that supports too, of course, there's the Rotary clubs, emergency services, schools, community groups, volunteers of all shapes and sizes, and tremendous support every year from Wairarapa Times Age and the local radio stations, of course, too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, it's a whole town event, and everyone gets behind it, and you see the little signs pop up all of a sudden, and everyone starts talking about it, so it's cool.
I think in a way it's actually because of so many things having been cancelled. I think this year it's the one big thing that the town can get involved with, isn't it?
Yeah, we're definitely still able to make it happen and keeping our segregated groups
Segregated groups, yeah.
make it work, eh?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be good, and I'm quite sure it's going to be a good night. So this is just one of the many things actually that Rotary does for people, and we might like to talk to them about that perhaps a bit later when Chris is talking about membership and what actually Rotary sort of can bring you and get you involved in. So Ben, you haven't been long in Rotary. How long have you been in it now?
I'm a newbie, yeah. I'm still at just about 1 year now, so I started this time last year pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was probably a little bit warmer this time last year somehow.
Yes, yes,
summer,
it was,
so,
yeah.
It's been very interesting, and there's some really cool things going on, and it's great to learn more about what Rotary is doing for the community too. So there's a lot of things I didn't realise that they're involved with.
So why did you start? I mean, where did it come from?
The opportunity to give something back to community. Between family and work, there's not always a lot of time left, but I'm always trying to do something extra, and I've been on some other boards in the past, and at the moment I wasn't, so this was a good opportunity, and we need more young people, it seems. So
and you're definitely young.
I'll call myself young still, yeah. But we definitely want more young members, as we were just talking about this week, weren't we?
Yeah.
So, there's some ideas and plans, and Chris will probably elaborate on some of that more too.
And have you found it's been what you were expecting or more?
There's definitely more going on than I thought and knew about, and there's lots of opportunities. I didn't think I'd be doing this, did I? So,
No.
but it's cool, and I knew there'd be food bank, but I didn't realise how how much organisation goes into it from our point of view, and what how it works so well because of it too. So,
yeah.
But from Mini Putt to the Millennium Reserve, there's just all these different projects too that Rotary is helping bring our town, and then we can do something with too.
And I think it's an interesting mix, even though probably people say, oh, most of us are old, but it's a mix of different backgrounds and what people have done, and it's really quite fascinating.
No, we could have a story every night from our own people.
We
some
could.
Pretty amazing backgrounds.
It's amazing, and I mean, you do actually get the stories because you can sit with anybody when you come to the dinner.
Yep.
And you can talk about anything, and a lot of
sit in the same corner every week, eh? Come on, shift around. But there's
I even had someone come up to me, two people last week, when I'd said something about that I actually had won some money on the Melbourne Cup, and they were quite surprised. I said, well, didn't you know I was a member of the racing club?
Yeah, that's right.
You're a dark horse, Marilyn.
I was a dark horse, yes.
Little secret came out, eh?
A little secret. But I mean, that is something that people have got all sorts of interesting things that they do. And of course, usually it's a lot of travel, but it's been slightly stymied this year. Slightly stymied.
Everybody's got their own interest or sideline too, isn't it? So you learn that. But I guess the wealth of experience in our club of business people and local characters and trades and services and professionals is just amazing. And
I think it is, yeah.
I learn something every time I'm there, so there's definitely more that can happen.
Oh, that's great. Now, I know that very soon that you've got school pickup. How are we going for time?
I've got 5 minutes still.
You got 5 minutes. Okay. Well, we could just
Chris is ready.
We could start with a little bit from Chris, and then when you go, I'll just put a track of music on so we can take a break. But
sure.
Chris, how long have you been? You're quite a long-serving Rotary member, aren't you?
I think it's about 18 years, Marilyn. 2003 or something.
And so, can I ask you the same question? Why did you join?
Yeah, that's quite an easy one to answer. I'm involved in agriculture and in the business of agriculture, and I probably spent 95% of my time in that industry and away from town. And here we are living in town all these years, and I didn't really know what was going on around Masterton. Plus, I was looking for a bit more variety in company and contacts and networks, and Rotary sort of ticked all those boxes, as well as the fact as Ben alluded to, you sort of get to the stage in life, some earlier than others, where you feel you want to give something back to the community, but you're not sure how to do it. And I recognised that Rotary had some pretty well organised community projects, and that so if I just turned up, I could slot into it and for the minimum amount of time do the maximum amount of good, and that's sort of exactly what happened. But there was a lot of other things that's been mentioned that you don't realise about Rotary when you become involved. So it as I say, it ticked all those boxes, and it meant that I could go along once a week and sit down for a quick meal, and you could be sitting with a teacher, a real estate agent, insurance broker, a hairdresser, a tile layer, a plumber, any number of trades or professions, and learn a lot about their world, and through them what's going on in Marston and Wairarapa, and build a lot of networks that you didn't have before. And out of that also comes the advantage of sort of building unofficial mentors, because there's a whole lot of people in Rotary that have been there and done things that you want to do, and by getting alongside them and just getting some quiet advice and having people you can go to talk to, you're able to progress your own life and your own profession quite substantially. And that was an unexpected advantage for me. And the other thing within Rotary is that it's got a bit of a structure, in the sense that there are committees and there's an executive and a president, and everybody has the opportunity to rise up through those positions. So it's a bit of a personal development thing. If you've never, organised other people, never sort of run a meeting, never been part of a committee, then it gives you a really good sort of introduction to that in a very sort of safe environment. And there's a very good chance that you could be asked to chair a committee and then eventually be the club president for a year. It's only a year's term. And that's a pretty interesting job, because you actually have a lot of influence over things for that year, and you create another set of contacts and networks for the national Rotary organisation, which is a pretty powerful thing, and of course the international Rotary club's even more powerful. So there's quite a lot going on there, and the weekly meetings are just sort of the tip of the iceberg. You can turn up at 5:30, have a quiet drink, have a chat to people. Meeting starts promptly at 6. Have a nice meal, a few notices, bit of fun, and usually a guest speaker, and those guest speakers are usually very interesting, and you learn a lot from them, and again do some networking. The other part of the activity is that once a month there are committee meetings at night, and every person's on one committee or another, be it international or community or club services or youth and vocation. And within that's where the work gets done. That's where the projects are identified. That's where grant applications are received and talked about. New schemes devised to do things in the community. And those plans put into place. So that's where the work's done. And then also, as Ben's been alluded to, the food bank appeal is quite a big activity for the club. We all got out and do that. If there's fundraising to be done for Cancer Society or Parkinson's or something, we get out and do that. The club had a very big role in setting up the kids' own playground.
Yes, that's
for example.
right.
It was a big project back in the late 80s, 90s. The Millennium Reserve gets a lot of our support. We do a lot of planting work, also around the park and the likes. The Master Putt is a business that was set up by and run by our club by a contractor on our behalf, and we've got a small cycle hire business attached to that. We also run quite a few youth projects where we identify kids that are enthusiastic and want to grow themselves, and there's a science program in Auckland that we send them to, and there's another leadership program that we can send other kids to where it's appropriate. Teen parenting is another thing that we support.
Been involved in, yes, that's right.
Which, and the list goes on,
doesn't it? Yeah.
I got to interview some kids recently for the Science and Technology
Oh, did
Forum,
you?
as they call it. Sadly, it has been cancelled now because it was in Auckland, but we
Oh,
had,
of course, yeah.
we had 3 highly recommended students that we put forward,
Mm.
and that was pretty interesting for me to, because, you know, I still think it wasn't that long ago as a student, but obviously it is. But I got to learn a lot from those kids, and it was pretty amazing. They were all so independent to a degree, the ones that applied. They had jobs, they had cars, and, you know, they were still also hungry for this extra learning, which was really cool.
And we've had some really good feedback from the ones who have been on those. And interesting enough, quite a few of them who've gone with not real preconceived idea about what they were going to do in their careers, and they've come away and they know exactly. They know now what they've done going to do. Yeah.
So that's something that, as Rotary members, we help with and pick the right people and assist them in getting there too.
No, that's great.
Heaps that goes on. As Chris said, a lot behind the scenes happens more so than just that Tuesday night meeting, but that's the opportunity for people to help where they can.
Yeah. Ben, just before before you go, just a reminder that what time and when and where Food Bank is.
Wednesday night, the 10th of November, so this Wednesday, between 5:30 to sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock, you'll hear the loud noises and sirens all around town. We will do the whole town. It's just street by street and in blocks. When you hear the loud noises, look out for, there'll be a vehicle following with a trailer and runners that'll come to you, and any non-perishable food items that you can make available or are happy to donate are very, very well received.
Thank you, and thank you for your time today, and we'll see you
on Tuesday.
Yeah. That sounds good. Okay, well, we'll just take a bit of a break with some music just in the meantime, and then we'll come back to you, Chris. Well, welcome back to Rotary Matters, and that actually was definitely not Sole Mio, which is actually what is playing, or what the CD was that I put into the machine. But not to worry, it was a break. So, welcome back, and we are still talking about Masterton South Rotary Club, and both Ben and Chris have spoken to you about how they came to be involved, and I think I was actually originally many years ago in Rotaract. My dad was in Rotary for many years, so I sort of grew up as a Rotary person, and then when I retired from teaching, suddenly I was not involved with a lot of people, and you know, when you're on a staff, you do have a big network of people, and I just was talking to Christine and Brian Crump, and I said, oh, perhaps I could come along to Rotary, and that was where it happened for me. And I really find that it's just wonderful. Yeah, it's just amazing to be able to be involved with so many different people of different walks of life. Yeah. So Masterton South was originally an offshoot from the Masterton Club, wasn't it?
That's right, Marilyn. I think it was probably in the, well, I'd said the early 70s. Hopefully it wouldn't be too far away. The single club got to a stage where it could spawn off another one, and the Masterton South Club came about at that point. And they both work along similar lines. The Masterton Club actually meets for a breakfast meeting. I think it's a Thursday morning.
Yes, that was the one my dad was in. And when I said perhaps I should join Masterton Club, and Christine said to me, "Oh, they meet in the morning." I said, "No, I don't think. I don't think.
You like your tipple before dinner too much, don't you, Marilyn?"
Yes. So, but we've had a very big club from that, haven't we? It's sort of grown.
Yes, we have. It seems to have got the right chemistry and method of doing things. So we've had up to 75 members. We've got just under 60 at the moment, and it's because of those numbers of people there, the jobs are shared around quite evenly, and of course it gives you a great diversity of company every week. And just before we go much further, if I haven't said it before, the message is that we're looking for new members. We're always looking for new faces and people who are involved in different things. And if you sort of fit any of those criteria that I talked about before, whether you've reached the stage where you'd like to make a contribution to the community, or quite blatantly you're looking to advance your own personal development or your own business, and you're looking for some very useful networks and possibly mentors, then it's a really good place for you to come and grow yourself. It's a fairly painless group to be amongst. It's only an hour and a half a week, and it used to be attendance used to be quite stringent, and there was a high expectation of being at nearly most meetings, but that's been far more relaxed in the last probably 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I think there used to be something called you had to make up if you didn't.
If you missed a meeting at your own club, you had to go to another one, which is pretty draconian these days because people have got very busy lives. So it's very much more relaxed. If you can make 60% of the meetings, that's okay. Ideally, you'd do more, but again, if you've got business away from town or you've got other things on, it's not a problem. And the annual subscription's about $1,200 a year, and that basically buys you your weekly meal, which is a very nice meal, by the way. And so it's not too expensive. But if you miss a meeting and you get your apology and at 11 o'clock that day, you get your meal fee refunded anyway. So it's pretty fair as far as all that goes.
And a lot of that money goes into community things, and
that's right.
I mean, it's not just a membership thing that loses out.
It's not all consumed.
No, no. And so with you said, if you can apologise, but you also get leave of absence too, can't you? Because
that's
a lot
right.
of people go away on holiday. A lot of people used to go away on holiday.
Yes, or they get called away for different projects, and they might be not able to attend for 3 months or something longer, and that's fine. You just put in a leave of absence, and not only do you not have to turn up, but people will probably just check on you, make sure you're okay. So, yeah, there's quite a lot of fellowship in the club too. And, yeah.
And how do you go about getting involved? I mean, how do you get into Rotary?
So what we typically do is look around amongst the people we know and ask ourselves who would be a good fit for Rotary, invite them along for a couple of meetings to see how it works, and have the chance to explain to people more about what it's about, and they can sample it themselves, and then they get more of a formal briefing on what's involved, what the commitment is, and then they'll be invited to join and formally inducted and things. So the first point of contact is possibly someone who you already know who's in Rotary. They'll be more than happy to introduce you to the club. I'm more than happy to be contacted directly myself as the head of the membership of the club at the moment. So my name's Chris, and the phone number is 0274379834. More than happy to hear from you, to have a chat and meet up with you and talk about it some more.
No, that's really good. So once you get into Rotary, you then become a member of a committee, and the committees are club services,
youth and vocation, community, international. And
yes, and last year we had comms IT, which
that's right.
which was to do with comms. But we've sort of incorporated that now into club services more.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just to add an example, one of the things that the international committee did a couple of years ago was recognise that in Rarotonga there was a lack of community health service, and because of the resources we've got in the club, we were able to commandeer and buy a bus and have it fitted out as a mobile medical unit, and that took the best part of a year, and 2 or 3 of our members went to Rarotonga a couple of times to establish the terms of which it'd be provided, and make sure things were set up over there, and went over with the bus when it was freighted to Rarotonga and got it installed on the island, and it's been a huge success.
It's amazing,
especially
isn't it?
in recent times with the pandemic and things. It's come into its own, but it's been a great asset for the Rarotongan community, and again, all the work that was put into planning and executing that was all voluntary.
Yeah, so that was Paul at Snellgrove with the transit. They provided the bus, and David Baker and Rob Earl were the leading lights. I know I was on the international committee when we did that, but I believe now that the bus turns up at the airport and does the or whatever it has to do, the testing.
Oh, shop bro, is it?
No, does the testing, which is great, really. And then with the committee meetings, we have the firesides, don't we? Do you know why they're called firesides?
Oh, I guess it's a quaint expression that goes way back when.
Is it just our club that calls it firesides?
I really don't know.
I don't know. No, I've never worked that out.
It's another name for a committee meeting, and they're held once a month, usually in one of the members' homes, for about up to an hour, and that's where the business of that committee is done, where the projects, are conceived and planned and executed, and grants applications processed and discussed, and then there's an executive which is made up of the chairs of those committees and the club president, who make final decisions on a lot of things, which is quite democratic and quite a robust process to get things right.
Yeah. And I mean, even with International this year, who haven't been able to do very much internationally, they've also been involved with ERCs, which are the emergency response kits.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've been around a long time. Something that Rotary have done. They used to put these kits together by members, basically providing the contents, whether they be a tent or a blanket or a shovel or a spade or whatever. There was a sort of a standard content, and once we had all the content right, we'd put it all in a box and send it off to an island, perhaps it's been cyclone ravaged or whatever. But now it's a bit more organised in the
I think there's a whole depot, isn't there, somewhere in New Zealand.
The boxes are standardised and mass-produced, and it's really just a finance thing to get them together and to get them in the right place. And that's, I guess, something else about the Rotary network internationally is that, for example, in national as well, if we were, for example, to be helping out West Coast, Westport in a flood, we could gather funds together or material, whatever it was, and between our club and the Rotary Club in Westport, we could make sure that all got to the right place and in the right hands without anybody clipping the ticket or taking cut out of that whole process.
And we did that too, and we've just recently sent something through down there, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah, so Rotary to Rotary, it's all voluntary, so all the money goes to the cause.
So perhaps we just talk, and so that's firesides, and and the other things, the social things. I mean, we've had Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which is a sort of like a potluck type dinner where you don't know where you're going until you actually get
That's
there.
right. Yeah.
And
Melbourne Cup's always a good night.
Yes, and our changeover nights have always been fated as something that are quite special.
Yeah.
What happened with your one? What did they do to you when you came?
Oh, it was very agricultural.
Oh yes,
My changeover, and it was very rude. There's a Jamie Mackay runs the farming show. It's now
and you're
country.
often on him on his program.
And I often speak on his program, and they're very clever. They must have got onto him earlier on, and he managed to cut and edit and slice a series of interviews that I'd given them, which were on pretty benign sort of subjects, but he managed to turn it into a very rude piece of dialogue.
Really? Oh, I'd love to have heard that.
I'm not going to go into the content, but it was very clever, and a lot of laughs, and there was lots of singing and carrying on, and everybody enjoyed the agricultural theme. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yep. So, just going back now to some of the things that we've done, would you believe we had a guy talking, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago at Rotary with some not unusual facts, but facts about Rotary, and it started as a lunch club, and funnily enough, Mosgiel in down south was the first club that ran an evening meeting. But the first community project, is quite interesting, was the setting up of a public toilet in Chicago, because that was where it first started. So we've gone from public toilets to polio eradication. So it's really amazing. So some of the things that we've got in the town, actually, in Masterton, I mean, we have done an amazing lot of projects around the town. I mean, we contributed to the Colombo courts. We've done, you were talking about scholarships for Ryder. That's on not scholarships for Ryder, but scholarships for Ripon, and that's the one that is the youth project for younger, like teenagers under 18.
Leadership.
Yeah, and Outward Bound. We've been involved with that.
Spirit of Adventure.
Spirit of Adventure too. We have had people that we have sponsored for that. The Rider, of course, is another big thing that we have been doing, which is the youth driving program. Hopefully,
tuition,
hopefully they'll be able to go ahead. It went ahead this year, so hopefully next year again we'll be able to do that. The Millennium Reserve, you mentioned that. That's sort of a little bit of a forgotten treasure in Masterton, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think it must have been established again in the late 70s when I was. It might have been the 80s. It used to be quite a waste area on the corner of Hillcrest Street there, and a group of locals got together and decided to make it a reserve and plant it up, and of course it was based around the trout hatchery, and MIS had quite an association with it, and there was a group of hardcore individuals who really championed the development of it, grew a lot of their own plants and trees to populate, and our club has been associated with that for some time. It wasn't until I think I was president in 2008, we actually had an official opening, which was, probably about 15 years after it actually started. But it gave it recognition, and so we put the stamp, the community stamp on it, and so it's been developed into a marvellous resource for the local community. It's well used. People take a lot of exercise in there and enjoy the peace and quiet amongst the bush in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, and of course, as I said, that's a bit of a forgotten treasure. But we do have our treasure of the Sunday market, which has been going for quite a long time too, and that's now back in the Wairarapa Club. I was going to say the Services Club, but it's called the Club Wairarapa car park now, and that's been a Sunday thing right through, isn't it?
It's quite an institution now,
Yeah.
and it's very well supported by some regular store holders. They turn up at about 6:30 and get themselves set up and sell anything and everything from baking to jars of jam, plants, tools, eggs, hardware, you name it, it's there. And it's sort of a bit like the village market, it becomes a focal point for a lot of people on a Sunday just to go along and have a bit of a poke round, but more particularly have a natter and catch up with people that they see every week. It sort of lurches back to old times a bit.
Yeah. Yes.
But very effective. People pay about $7 for one car park, and it raises quite a lot of funds that 100% of which go back into the community through Rotary.
Yeah. So also just things that probably people don't always see, that every newborn baby, and this is Wairarapa wide, is given a book when they're born. So that's lovely, and it's books for babies that was started by Russell Carthy, I think.
That's right, and that leads us to reading in schools, where club members volunteer their time to go along to intermediate schools, I think it is mainly, and kids that need a bit of extra help with reading, they can have one-on-one reading with our members for half an hour at a time, and just have that relaxed environment where there's no pressure, and as I say, it's one-on-one where they can just be given some help with their reading. It's produced some really good results.
And that's been going for a long time, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah. So, so we need to get out into the community. I mean, it's all very well to say that, people we know, but there has been a bit of an idea sort of mooted about getting some sort of a flyer worked out so that we can sort of take it around to businesses, which could be something that we could be looking at. Yeah,
Rotary tends to not promote itself widely. They just get on with it, and so it's quite likely that a lot of people wouldn't know or maybe not have quite the right idea about what Rotary does. And
yes, because I think people sort of think it's just, are we allowed to say pale, stale and male? It's not pale, so females are in,
Absolutely. And I think they'll be surprised to find, particularly with our club, that we don't take ourselves that seriously.
No, definitely not.
There's a lot of hoots and laughter and sending up and giving people a hard
and
time.
sergeant's times.
And if you do take yourself too seriously, you don't last too long.
No.
And that's good. That's what I like about it. It's jovial, it's good fun, but there are... The one thing I really like about it is, like, I help out every couple of years with the air show, where there's a lot of work involved to help out. We basically volunteer and do all the admissions and car parking, and so I get a team of about 30 or 5 people around me, and we get stuck in and we do that for a couple of days. Now, the beauty of that is that if I ask for volunteers, I get 30 people put their hand up, and they just want to be told where and when to turn up, and they come and do it, and they do it well, and nobody makes any fuss or bother, and they can think for themselves, and they just get on and do it, and it's great. And that's what makes Rotary good, because there's an expectation that you're there to help, and if somebody's prepared to organise something, they'll just get stuck in and do it.
Yeah, and I think that is great. I mean, if you just ask for volunteers for anything, there's always people who will put their hand up and do it.
Because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
And everybody does their bit.
Well, thank you, Chris. I think we've sort of gone through quite a bit. And perhaps if you just give us that telephone number, or people could go to the website, but I mean, perhaps you could just...
Yeah,
and
sure.
we're on it. There is a Facebook.
There is, and that you can message off the Facebook. But I'm more than happy just if they want to contact me directly and just to have a chat further about things. So it's Chris, 0274 379 834, and we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, thanks very much. So I think that just sort of I was just going to have one more little thing about what we're doing with polio, and this is an international thing and this was started in 1988. It's just an article here about it, and we're 99% totally polio free, eradicated. except for just some in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and they are looking to develop some new vaccine and things for that there too. But that's been an ongoing project that has been done by Rotary International, and it was Stop Polio now, so that was absolutely great. Well, you've been listening to Rotary Matters, and this program is broadcast each the first Friday of the month, and it's live on Arrow FM and also live broadcast on Wairarapa Radio, and then on the Saturday, so that's tomorrow, it is broadcast in the afternoon at 5. So thanks to Chris, and thanks in his absence to Ben for giving us some really interesting information. Just remember that next Wednesday is Food Bank, and we hope that everyone will be involved with that. And also, if you want to know a little bit more about Rotary, I'm sure that if you go to the Facebook site or the website, or if you want to phone Chris and just get in touch with anybody, and we'd really, really welcome you to come along and be involved. So I think it's time to sign off, Chris, and a lovely weekend to everybody, and we'll just play out with a little bit of music, and then we'll